Hey everyone, today I wanted to make a video that has been in the works for a really long time. And I've seen videos like this before where people share like their not to be missed topics or subjects that they teach in their homeschool or that they think you should teach in your homeschool. And the reason that I have kind of hesitated or worked so long on trying to get this out there is that because when I watched those other videos, they were very clear and concise. They were like these 3 subjects or these 3 or 5 or whatever topics. And I feel like mine are a bit more intertwined and there's a lot to some of them. And so it was a little overwhelming to figure out how to share this and also not being really sure if this would be something of interest. But I decided to go ahead and share it today because I do think it could be helpful. I don't like to tell you what you should do in your homeschool. I try to be mindful of that in my videos, that it's not my place to tell you what to do. So what I will say is that these are important skills or topics that I want to make sure are present in my homeschool. Maybe you will find them necessary for yours as well. I'd also love to hear what are your must-teach topics or subjects, so let me know those down in the comments. But I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of walk you through. I have these kind of notes that are for myself that I created so that I could kind of keep track of things and just have a document to go to. I will say these are working documents and that they may change as I discover new things or want to tweak something. But basically, I have finally written a mission statement for our homeschool, and I encourage you to do that if you haven't, because I think it can be really helpful in guiding you, and just to like have it on paper for me is really helpful. And that's going to be personal to your family and your homeschool. But ours is that in addition to teaching standard college prep subjects such as language arts, math, science, history, our mission is to raise critical thinkers in a safe, inclusive, and supportive learning environment that empowers everyone to reach their fullest potential. We want to focus on establishing good habits, fostering respect for diversity, encouraging the pursuit of interests, highlighting individual strengths, and refining essential life skills. Our goal is to cultivate learners who feel valued, inspired, and equipped to engage thoughtfully with the world around them. So my 5 kind of sections of must-teach skills or topics, my first one encompasses a lot, and I'm calling it 21st Century Skills. The reason I called it that is because I have this book. Also, as I'm talking, I'm going to share resources with you that I like. It's not an exhaustive list of resources, but it's what I happen to have kind of in front of me or around me at the current moment when I'm filming this. So anyway, the reason I'm calling it 21st Century Skills is I have this book. This is like a school textbook. I believe it's used in schools. I got it off eBay used. It's called Inquire, A Guide to 21st Century Learning. And so many of the skills and topics that I have kind of in my list of things that are essential for us fall in this book under what they call 21st Century Skills. So I just thought, you know what, that's a good name for them. I'm going to call them that too. So they pretty much break it down into, where is it? Learning skills, literacy skills, and inquiry skills. And this covers things like critical thinking, problem solving, media literacy, all of that type of stuff. So that's why I'm calling them 21st Century Skills. By the way, this is a book that I will likely use in 8th grade maybe. I do believe they make, I think this is a middle school version, and I think they also make a high school version. But I originally thought we would work our way through this book, my daughter and I, but I think now it's something I might just use as a little bit of a roadmap to help guide me. I don't think it's something that I'm going to have her work through page by page, but I wanted to share that anyway. So what I have for my 21st Century Skills are learning skills like critical thinking, creative thinking, logic, problem solving, communication, collaborating, building arguments, technology skills, goal setting. Some of these could also fall under other skill sets or other topics. This is just where I've lumped them for sake of organization in my brain. So critical thinking is kind of my big one. I also have notes over here for myself of what some of these words mean to me. They may not be official definitions, but they're the definition that I'm working off of when I kind of am making my decisions and selections and choices and all of that. So for me, it's really important to have a differentiation between logic, critical thinking, and problem solving. I feel like they all work together, but they're not all one and the same. And I think a lot of times in homeschool, they get lumped together. And having my kids play a logic game is great, and it's important in that whole puzzle, but it's not going to cover all the pieces. So we do a lot of logic games and little mind bender puzzles, and I think those are good. But we also want to make sure we have a focus on building critical thinking skills so that they kind of have that set of tools to be able to problem solve. And so to me, that's really important. I also, let's see. Yeah, I have technology under there too. I think that that's really important. So I'm going to show you just, I got a pile of stuff here that kind of goes in this first 21st century skills section. Actually, let me go down and do literacy skills and inquiry skills. So literacy skills, I have things like media literacy, information literacy, reading to learn, study skills, how to learn, goal setting. Again, goal settings in both of those, that's okay. And then inquiry skills, things like questioning, planning, researching. Again, I have information literacy in here because that's a really big one for me. So some of the resources I have, you have probably seen before in other videos. This is a product, I think Google makes this. It's a guide for, hey, let me get to a better page because I put two different, I think I put two different, they have a family one and then they have one for school. So yeah, digital safety and citizenship curriculum. This is free that I printed off the internet. I have not used it yet, but this is something that a resource we plan to use. Again, because it covers these topics, which are important to us. This whole series, Two Truths and a Lie, we did 2 of these books previously as part of Torchlight. This is a new one, and it's not a new one. It's one we have not done before, but basically you get 3 kind of stories or articles, and you have to go through and figure out which one's the truth and which 2 are lies. And that whole process of trying to assess kind of true from false and all of that, I think is really helpful. So those are really good. We are going to be doing a unit soon on media literacy and things like disinformation, fake news, that kind of stuff. This is a really fun book called Killer Underwear Invasion. So I have this because I'm planning to use that in the unit, but it covers fake news, why do people make up news, disinformation, what happens when fake news blows up, how to tell real news from fake news, why we believe fake news, things like that. I should also say that when I say that these are must-teach skills or topics in our homeschool, I don't mean that they are going to be specific subjects that we're going to do in a semester or a school year. Some of them may look like that, but many of them are, actually, I put it in my notes, that my goal is to plant the seeds for many of these topics or skills now across the curriculum to lay a foundation for deeper study and usage in future grades. So just so you know. This is another really good one about the news. It's called Breaking the News, What's Real, What's Not, and Why the Difference Matters. This is a new one to me that I'm enjoying called The Media and Me. It's a guide to critical media literacy for young readers. I made a note about something I read in there that I liked. It says, literacy is so much more than the ability to read and write. The ability to read, write, speak, listen, and listen in a way that lets us communicate effectively. I just noticed a spelling mistake. To communicate effectively and make sense of the world. Robust literacy enables the user to interpret and communicate independently. I really like that. But so far, this is a really good book that I recommend. Of course, there's kind of the standard Raising Critical Thinkers, which is also good. And that's more for the parent to read, but then they have this workbook for students. We have not used this yet. I'm looking at maybe doing this next year with my 8th grader, will be 8th grader. This is a book that I am currently reading called What the Fact? Finding the Truth in All the Noise. And this, again, I believe is a teen novel, at least in my library. It was in the teen section, but definitely a worthwhile read. And this is another one, True or False, a CIA analyst's guide to spotting fake news. This is an adult book, but I think it's really important if I want to teach these topics and skills to my kids, I have to be educated on them myself. So anyway, and then this is one I'm looking to use one-on-one with my 7th grader this year. This is called Think for Yourself, the Ultimate Guide to Critical Thinking in an Age of Information Overload. And then what else do I have here? So that covers, those are some resources on like critical thinking and things like that. Another thing is we have been, we finished one, PBL, problem-based learning, and those, the reason we do those or are incorporating those is to teach these skills. And I'm trying to grab one to show you, but I don't, oh, there it is, okay. So like this is an example of problem-based learning mystery disease. We just finished one called The Great Debates, which I will be doing a video review on sometime soon. But these types of things are great for critical thinking skills and just life skills in general. So those are things that I recommend that we incorporate. What else do I have resources to show you on? Oh, I just got a really good book from the library called Problem-Based Learning with the Internet. Now, this is a little dated, so I need to go through and see like how useful it all is, but I think it's useful. I think it's like written well enough that you can apply it to, like it doesn't matter if there's old links or older technologies in here. I think it'll still be really good, and you could apply it to your own current topics that you're studying or things like that. So I think that one looks really good. What else before I get too off track? Okay, oh, and I have study skills, note-taking, all of that kind of stuff. I've mentioned this book before. I highly recommend it, but this is something we're using right now. We likely will come back to it again in later grades. And this is a book I got from the library. It's out of print, I believe. You'd have to get it on eBay, but they make an audio that goes with it, and I just think it's brilliant. It's called Learn to Listen, Listen to Learn, Academic Listening and Note-Taking, and the CD actually has like lectures on it. The lectures are actually about like study skills and things, so that you can practice taking notes from a lecture, and I just think that that's really cool. So this is something that as we progress and my kids get older and they're the teaching of note-taking and study skills goes up as their age goes up, that's something that we would definitely look to get. All right, so anyway, what else do I have on my list? Yeah, information literacy, again, that how to use the library, how to research, all of that type of stuff. Social justice is my next one. And I also have, I've lumped it in here because it can be a tool for teaching social justice, but that is teaching history from multiple perspectives. So I kind of have those together. These are things that I have up on our board in our school area right now. This is teaching history. Where do I start? Look at the lessons you're required to teach. Research that topic and see if there are inaccuracies you need to address. Many textbooks and the stories you grew up with have been whitewashed or false. And then encourage students to think critically about the information presented, which again is why we have some of these. And then this, I heard a quote similar to this in I think it was in a Blair and Amy podcast that I was listening to. And Amy said, when you study history, you have to ask, who isn't here? Like, who's missing? Whose story am I missing? And so I like to remind my kids of this a lot because I think it's important. So those are things we have up on our board. And when we're talking about things like critical thinking and media literacy and all of that type of stuff, it's something that can be done cross-curricular. So, or even when we're talking about in history, you know, researching to see like what's untrue and what's changed since you learned it. There are books like this one that this whole series I really like from the library. This one is Identifying Bias, Propaganda, and Misinformation Surrounding the Boston Tea Party. So the great thing about this world we live in now, there are still a few great things, is that if you don't know about something, you have plenty of resources to educate yourself. And there's a whole series of this one. Problem-solving methods of the Continental Congress, interpreting data about the 13 colonies, fact or fiction, researching the causes of the American Civil War, considering different opinions surrounding the American Revolutionary War, etc. So I like that. What else do we have? This is something we're going to be reading aloud next semester. And this is like the young readers version. There's a regular adult version and I think a graphic novel as well. Also along the lines for social justice, this next semester we're going to be doing Rad American History A to Z with the Mint and Bloom Power of the People that goes with it. This is a book that I've been reading called The Progressive Parent, Harnessing the Power of Science and Social Justice to Raise Awesome Kids. Again, I look for just as many resources for my kids as I do for myself, or turn that around. I look for just as many resources for myself as I do for my kids. This was just really a very simple book that I read aloud to my kids at some point. This is a new one I found at the library. If you have a little activist on your hands, I think this would be a great book. I say little, I mean like a teenage or preteen activist. This is called Girls Resist, A Guide to Activism, Leadership, and Starting a Revolution. And let's see. Here's a table of contents. So about protests, petitions, taking action, media, messaging, fundraising, group dynamics, things like that. All right, so that's kind of a few resources for that topic. There are millions of others out there. So career guidance and skills exploration, I don't really have much written there, but it's really important for me as I've been trying to focus more on my kids' strengths in our homeschool and not so much on their weaknesses. I really want to make sure that I am helping them explore those strengths, helping them determine, discover their skill strengths and where they might want to go with those in the future. So this is something that I don't really have any resources to show you, but it is one of our kind of must-teach areas. Life skills is another, and by that I mean things like that you would find in home economics. As an example, we have this home economics curriculum from Harbor and Sprout that we will do at some point that this just looks excellent. But anyway, I have things like fixing things. You know, recently our dishwasher broke, our garbage disposal broke, and I want my kids to have the skills to, if they are so inclined, that they could fix those things themselves or feel comfortable diagnosing the problem and looking a little closer before just saying this is broken and we have to call a plumber. Sometimes it's broken and you have to call the plumber, but sometimes you can replace the garbage disposal yourself, like we did. And then healthy relationships, I don't really mean like dating and all of that, although I'm sure that that will come up in this at some point, but I really am looking at what do healthy relationships look like in friendships, in partners, professionally, really kind of understanding those dynamics of different types of relationships and what a healthy and unhealthy relationship in those areas looks like, understanding different brain types as well as like their own, and really understanding how to communicate with all those different types of people in different settings. This is another Harbor and Sprout, the psychology unit, that I think will kind of help fill that a little bit. So those are just some of the resources. Like I said, it's not an exhaustive showing of resources. It's just what I happen to have on hand that I can show you. So these are our must-teach skills and topics for our homeschool. I'd love to know what yours are. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below.